Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States and First Lady Melania Trump, accompanied by the Easter Bunny. Master
Even the Easter Bunny didn't want to walk out. You woke? Time to get up. Hello and welcome to Thought You Were Woke No Speed Limit Podcast. I'm your host, Alvin, where we talk about politics, religion, culture, current events. That's our big thing here that we talk about. And sometimes we even throw in sports and entertainment. But folks, what I need you to do is to hit that like, share, that subscribe button, and share this with others. That's what I need you to do. Right now, I'm bringing this to you free of charge, but how you can help me is to increase my number of subscribers and those who watch the show. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and share it with others. Now, back to today's show. So, we're still talking about those tariffs. In fact, watch this video.
You're imposing a 10% tariff on the herd in McDonald Islands. The herd in McDonald Islands have 0 human inhabitants. They have 0 exports. They have 0 imports. They do have a lot of penguins. Why are you putting import tariffs on islands that are entirely populated by penguins?
Well, I mean, come on, Jake. Obviously, here's the bottom line. We live under a tariff regime from other countries. We have too long
the McDonald Islands is not imposing
the idea that America goes first. I mean, come on. Whatever. Listen, the people that are leading this are serious, intentional, patriotic, the smartest people I've ever worked with.
So, to be honest with you, the president and company are doing more than having a fight with penguins. But I think it's notable that we think that when we slap tariffs on somebody, we just slap tariffs on somebody just for the heck of slapping tariffs on somebody. There are countries who really have nothing to negotiate with us, like Lesotho. We get all of our minerals from Lesotho. Lesotho is a poor country that can't afford to buy much from the U.S. But we do give our money to them to get minerals, So the president thinks he can negotiate with Lesotho, who might turn around and say, "I'll negotiate with the Chinese, who are okay with a zero-sum game." It's like, "Hey, I'm getting the minerals I need from you at a decent price, and I understand that you guys are poor. We might fix your roads up, your city up, and do all this stuff in the process. That's a good exchange." But President Trump, on the other hand, thinks that it's a good idea to even make poor countries get more American goods. That is a total misunderstanding of how this process works. And 2 of the countries he wants to hit the hardest, of course, is Lesotho and South Africa, which he already has a problem with because he says they're trying to hurt white people. So, about South Africa. 7% of the population owns 70% of the land. 7% of the population owns 70% of the land, and that's white people. There are the 7% in a country that is predominantly black and African. And he's going to make them give him more money. I guess he's going to get that 7. He's going to get more from that 7% than he is from the rest. Who knows? Anyway, as far as tariffs go, they aren't a good thing for this country. And I want you to hear this.
The level of tariff increases announced so far is significantly larger than anticipated, and the same is likely to be true of the economic effects, which will include higher inflation and slower growth.
Since Powell said that, Trump has decided to set back on it. He's still going to give us a 25% tariff, but those tariffs are pretty big and it's still going to be a problem. So they can still be inflationary. There still could cause a job loss across America. People will start, of course, trying to save money because they fear what they're seeing. They're not going to buy the products they were because, look, there's a 104% tariff on China. And a lot of our goods are from China. There's stuff they sell at Walmart, stuff they sell at Target, the place that's being boycotted right now. Stuff they sell all across the United States. And even China's come out and said that some of these high luxury bags you buy from Italy and other places like that, they also are made in China, or at least parts of them are made in China. So these high tariffs on places like China, on Vietnam, on Thailand, uh, it, it, they're not going to be good for the United States in the end, because what they're going to do is it's going to be put on the consumer. You, that's right, you will pay the cost for these, because it's very rare that the retailer is going to eat that debt, because in the end it could bankrupt them. So what's best for them to do? It's best for them to make you pay for it, so that if you're one of these people that, because here's another thing that he's done, he's stopping Temu and Shein, who's been getting away with the exemption for things that are under, I think it's $80 or something like that. Anything under that is basically tax exempt as far as import duties go. So you're escaping, they were escaping those things. So Temu was getting away with selling cheap goods in the United States at a very low rate, and people were buying it up, just eating it up, even though some of the stuff is not that good. There are some good things on Temu. I know I've purchased some of those things, but there are some things on Temu that aren't any good at all, right? But just imagine that you put 104% tariff on that, so an $8 product now becomes 80, $100, right? It's $108 for uh, an item that would have only cost $4, or it's $80 for an item that's probably only made for $2.59. Guess who's gonna pay that? You are. If you go to Amazon, they have same deal. Xbox, PlayStation, all of them have stopped shipping because they're trying to figure out what's going on. This is not the only thing. Our wonderful president has decided that he's going to help the American shipping industry, which hasn't made a ship in over a year. 75% of all ships that travel the world are made by China, transport ships. So that means every time a ship comes to the United States, this is what Trump is proposing, he's going to make them pay $1 million for every port of call. So let's say they stop in Los Angeles, then they turn around and they stop in uh, Seattle, or they stop in Los Angeles and they stop in New York. That's $1 million each time. So guess who's that cost is going to get passed on to? You. To you. Now he has put a 180-day pause on that. Then he says he's going to increment it slowly. We'll see how that works out. But because of Jerome Powell saying what he said, Trump said this.
I don't think he's doing the job. He's too late, always too late, a little slow, and I'm not happy with him. We have a Federal Reserve Chairman that is playing politics, somebody that I've never been very fond of, actually. The Fed really owes it to the American people to get interest rates down. That's the only thing he's good for. I think he's terrible. He puts us at a disadvantage to Europe. I mean, he plays right into their hands. If I want him out, he'll be out of there real fast, believe me.
Ooh, it seems like Mr. Orange Man is a little upset. Yeah, he's a little upset about what Jerome Powell had to say. He blames interest rates for why our economy will tank, even though it's obvious tariffs are going to have an effect. They're definitely going to have an effect as consumers buy less, and that affects retail, that affects everything. We are a consumer side. We are not a manufacturing nation. I get it. Trump wants to bring back that great manufacturing back to the United States. The chances of that happen are very, very slim. But what are the chances of him actually firing Powell? Because of what he said, the markets really declined, including the dollar. So that made Donald Trump think twice about what
It did to me. Yeah, please.
You have no intention of firing Jerome Powell because here, Aaron Bryan Hassett a few days ago said that you and people in the White House were studying this idea of possibly doing a fourth term act.
No.
Do you have any plans on doing it?
None whatsoever. Never did. The press runs away with things. No, I have no intention of firing him. I would like to see him be a little more active in terms of his idea to lower interest rates. This is a perfect time to lower interest rates. If he doesn't, is it the end? No, it's not. But it would be good timing. Could have taken place earlier. But no, I have no intention to fire him.
Why, Mr. Trump? Why aren't you going to fire him?
President-elect's advisors have suggested that you should resign. If he asked you to leave, would you go?
No.
Can you follow up on? Do you think that legally you're not required to leave?
No.
Do you believe that the president has the power to fire or demote you, and has the Fed determined the legality of a president demoting at will any of the other governors with leadership positions?
Not permitted under the law.
Not what?
Well, Secretary Powell is right in certain ways. Okay, so let me explain this. The president can fire a chair, but he has to have cause. These offices are appointed or elected directly from the inside, So basically, he's the chair of the reserve. He's also the governor of the reserve at the same time. One runs out in 26, one runs out in 28. So when his term is up, someone else, the president can choose someone else. That's 3 to 4 years from now, right? 4 years from now, he can choose a new one. And then even if that happens, if the people who elect this don't like him, they could still choose Powell as their secretary. It's totally up to them. It's up to Powell to decide when he resigns. And yes, the president can put pressure on him and all these things, but usually it doesn't work out well for presidents to put pressure on the reserve secretary. That's a lot of power, by the way. But the president cannot fire this guy. He just can't just fire him without just cause. And usually, like I said, it's corruption, uh, embezzlement, something. You got to have something on him that other than that I don't like him. That's just how that works. So he can't do that. Now, let's move on from tariffs for a second.
You have like the Social Security Trust Fund, which is gone in 8 years. But we borrow the money out of that and we do pay interest on it.
So if you haven't guessed already, we're going to talk about Social Security, that wonderful thing that we pay into every year, but apparently is running out of money because, like you said, they're borrowing against Social Security to pay for debt. Why, I don't know. But anyway, that's not the only part of this story I want to tell. So now, our current budget here is looking to make cuts. And this is what they're saying they're doing. They're going to cut fraud, waste, and abuse out of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Meanwhile, they're going to cut the budget. I got a little bit more to tell you about this story, so we'll get to a certain point on this. So they're cutting this, right? They're cutting this while also giving big tax breaks, not only to individuals, they're going to give us a little bit of a tax break, but they're giving wealthy people a huge tax break. The tax rate is down to 21%, 22%. At one time their tax rate was up to as high as 99% back in the 70s. Now it's down to 21, 22%. You wonder why we can't pay for the debt and we're still spending a whole lot of money, right? Because we're not putting enough money back into the coffers. That's what's going on. And wealthy people are loving this. People like Elon Musk are eating. Oh, yeah, Elon Musk. Elon Musk and our Commerce Secretary had something to say about Social Security. But listen to what our Commerce Secretary said, because this is important.
Let's say Social Security didn't send out their checks this month. My mother-in-law, who's 94, she wouldn't call and complain. She just wouldn't. She'd think something got messed up, and she'll get it next month.
Yeah.
A fraudster always makes the loudest noise, screaming, yelling, and complaining. And if all the guys who did PayPal, like Elon knows this by heart, right? Anybody who's been in the payment system and the process system knows the easiest way to find the fraudster is to stop payments and listen.
Yeah.
Because whoever screams is the one stealing.
Yeah.
Because my mother-in-law's not calling. I mean, come on, your mother, 80-year-olds, 90-year-olds, they trust the government. They trust, okay, maybe I got screwed up. Big deal. They're not going to call and scream at someone. But someone who's stealing always does. So what happens is we need to get to, so the people who are getting that free money, stealing the money, inappropriately getting the money, have an inside person who's routing the money, they are going to yell and scream. But real America.
Our wealthy Commerce Secretary, who, if his mother misses a Social Security check, can pay her bill, says that his 80-year-old, 90-year-old mother would not complain. She is 90 years old, and maybe a reason why she's not complaining. Would not complain about missing a Social Security check. Again, he's a wealthy man, and her having to pay whatever bill she have, he can take care of it, right? Right. Now, the average person who's taking care of themselves, like a lot of older people are in this country, if you miss a Social Security payment, that means you might be missing your light bill, maybe you're missing your rent, maybe your mortgage, because even some people at 90 years old still have a mortgage. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is ridiculous for him to even say or suggest that somebody complaining about not getting their check is a problem. Oh, but let me show you how Social Security plans on uh, fixing the problem.
Security is the third rail of American politics. You touch it, and it is a guaranteed political death. Well, we are now witnessing the strongest test we've ever had of that aphorism as Donald Trump grabs that third rail firmly and unmistakably. Trump has announced plans to fire thousands of people who work at the Social Security Administration, more than 12% of its staff. He has released plans to shut down dozens of local Social Security offices across the country. Simultaneously, Trump is also making changes that will force millions more people to have to go to Social Security offices in person rather than dealing with the agency over the phone as they can now. That means millions more elderly people and people with disabilities will be forced to somehow make their way physically to a Social Security office in person if they can find one, because they're closing lots of offices, because they will need to get help in person from a Social Security staffer, provided they can find one who hasn't been fired.
Imagine your 70, 80-year-old mother, grandmother having to try to shuffle over to a Social Security office every day, have to call you on the phone for a ride to the Social Security office because they're missing a check. And then when they get there and complain about losing the check, they're instantly going to be considered fraud. You know, this is a wonderful concept. I'm laying off thousands of workers, but I want you to go to the office where there won't be enough people. There'll be a line going out the door. And if you're sitting in a wheelchair, you're old, and you have back problems, you're going to have a problem because we're not going to we're not going to do anything to compensate you or compliment you because we got rid of DEIA, which means accessibility. We got rid of that too. So that means we're just going to make it harder and harder for you to get your Social Security check. And this is all to save money. But I want y'all to listen to this.
Great things happening with our military. We also essentially approved a budget, which is in the facility. You'll like to hear this, of $1 trillion, $1 trillion. And nobody's seen anything like it. We have to build our military, and we're very cost conscious, but the military is something that we have to build, and we have to be strong because you got a lot of bad forces out there now. So we're going to be approving a budget, and I'm proud to say, actually, the biggest one we've ever done for the military.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The reason why we have to cut Social Security, cut all the amenities that are needed for people to even get in contact with Social Security, why we're saying that people who holler about the checks they don't get, is so we can have $1 trillion military budget because he needs it, because he wants to invade Greenland, Gaza Strip, Panama Canal. He wants to do all these wonderful things with our military. He's going to make it stronger. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is why we, the American people, must suffer, because our president, El Presidente Orange, has decided that he wants $1 trillion budget. And people are talking about it, but that's what he wants. El Presidente. So we're going to cut 7,000 jobs. Ain't going to do nothing but make it worse for people. We're going to make it hard for people to get their Social Security and their welfare and all those other things. We're going to make it harder for them so our military can be strong and increase the national debt. Don't believe me? Watch this guy.
You have like the Social Security Trust Fund, which is gone in 8 years. But we borrow the money out of that, and we do pay interest on it. But if you take everything where we sell bonds to the world, to each other, to our retirement accounts, to pensions, when the day we got elected, Mr. Speaker, so long time ago, what was that? November. U.S. sovereign debt that was held by the public was around $28 trillion. These numbers right now say that number that took, 240 years of publicly held debt We intend to double in 9 years.
So there you have it. Our president is going to triple, double, so he can get $1 trillion budget for the military, but he's going to cut your Social Security benefits by making sure it's harder for you to get them. And then he's going to call you a fraud once you start complaining about not getting your Social Security benefits. Isn't he an awesome president? He's just awesome. El Capite Presidente Orange.
What do you want to say, sir, about the signal chat controversy?
You know, what a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax. Won't get back their Pulitzers. They got Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. Pulitzers for a bunch of lies and on hoaxes, time and time and time again. And as they peddle those lies, no one ever calls them on it. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people. This is why we're fighting the fake news media. This is why we're fighting slash and burn Democrats. This is why we're fighting hoaxsters. Hoaxsters. This group right here, full of hoaxsters that peddle anonymous sources from leakers with axes to grind, and then you put it all together as if it's some news story. What we're doing, voting the president, fighting hard across the board, and I'm going to go roll some Easter eggs with my kids. Thank you very much.
That's Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, this one that Trump wants to give the $1 trillion budget to. Well, guess what? This guy, we've already heard about the first Signal chat controversy where the editor of the Atlantic Star ended up on the conversation, right? Well, apparently on that very same night, Hegseth was sending Signal chat messages to his brother, his sister, and his lawyer. So he gave them the same military plans and talked about the military operations with his wife, his brother, and his lawyer on the same call. I don't know what that was all about, right? This guy, and now he's saying it was disgruntled employees. Well, he's right now going on a firing spree at the Pentagon as it is, and he's even firing people that are loyal to him. Those very same people say, hey, this isn't us. There's an internal investigation going on into Hegseth and his actions around this particular incident. So this information that came out, they had nothing to do with the former employees. But Hegseth says it does. I had to talk about this one because we're giving $1 trillion budget now. $1 trillion budget after we're doing all this tariffs and doing all this other crazy stuff. We're giving $1 trillion budget to a guy who can't keep military secret because he wants to use Signal, something he's not supposed to use for conversations about tactical combat or strategies or missions that the military is about to do. There are other means of communications in the military other than Signal, but he's decided to use this particular one that we already know that the Russians and the Chinese are listening to communicate with people. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't make this stuff up. I just cannot make this foolishness up at all. This is the real deal. We got an idiot. We got a couple of idiots in the White House, and I don't know what else to say other than like, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.
You have been listening to Thought You Were Woke No Speed Limit Podcast.